So in last week's video, we talked in depth about why you might still be struggling over your ex months and months, if not years after your breakup. And we established that what's keeping you stuck is not your ex, but your own limiting self-beliefs. So in this week's video, we're going to be looking at what the next steps are. How do you overcome those limiting self-beliefs and start feeling good about yourself again? Roll VT. Hello, welcome, all that jazz. My name's Andy O'Neill. Welcome to my YouTube channel. I'm a life coach who specialises in breakup recovery and self-esteem. I release videos every single week, so if you've not yet subscribed, please make sure you hit that button. So last week we talked all about why it is you're still feeling stuck over your ex months, if not years after your breakup. And we established that it wasn't about your ex at all. It's actually about you. How you feel about yourself. And I've shown you the process of how I discovered what my limiting self-beliefs were. And today we're going to go one step further. We're going to look at how you overcome those limiting self-beliefs so you're no longer reliant on the support and love of somebody else to feel good about yourself. So I suggest if you've not watched last week's video, go and watch that first, complete the process, establish your own limiting self-beliefs, and then come back and watch this one. But if you're still watching, I'm assuming you've done that and you've got your list of limiting self-beliefs. So let's get into it. So last week we established that my limiting self-beliefs were: I'm not very clever, I'm ugly, I'm weak, and I'm not good enough. These were all the beliefs I held about myself that was keeping me stuck after my breakups. You see, when I was in a relationship, I didn't feel any of these because the fact that somebody loved and supported me made me feel good about myself. The problem was, I was unable to do that for myself. So the minute the breakup happened, I felt like crap because all these reared their ugly heads. So what do? Panic and think, I need to get my ex back. I don't want to feel all these things. I want to feel good about myself again. And if I can't get them back, at the very least, find somebody new. But all I was doing was looking for an external source for my own happiness. My own happiness wasn't there because these were the beliefs I held about myself. By overcoming these, I was able to create my own happiness and not be reliant on anybody else. And I'm going to show you how you can do it too. So because this is the magic of YouTube, I'm going to cut in half a second to a new completed whiteboard with the whole process laid out. Watch this. See, just like magic. How good's that? Right, so this is the exact process I went through to overcome my limiting self-beliefs. So what I've got up in here is the sheet to use, and I've put a PDF in the description for you to download so you can use it yourself. So what we've got is we've got 5 columns. We've got your thought, we've got your belief, we've got the new thought, the new belief, and then the evidence. And I'm going to go through it based on an example of 2 limiting self-beliefs that you might have. I am unimportant and I am unlovable. And like I said, if you've gone through this process, you'll have your own set of limiting self-beliefs. So they could be anything. So you just apply this process to them. So this is what you do, right? On a daily basis, whenever you have a negative thought about something, you need to fill this form in. So it all starts with the initial thought. So let's say your initial thought is, nobody cares about me now that I'm single. Yeah? So you have that thought during the day, and that could be triggered by a number of things. Maybe you suddenly start thinking, my friends haven't phoned me, or my family's not phoned me, I've not seen anyone today. And you have this thought, nobody cares about me now that I'm single. So what belief is that then connected to? Because this is what you need to do. You've got the thought, you wrote the thought down, okay, it's a negative thought. So what negative belief is that now attached to? And that could be, I am unimportant. That's the belief you now hold about yourself, and it's triggering these thoughts, okay? So the secret is to now challenge them and reframe them. So you'll reframe that initial thought, and then you'll reframe that belief. And you do this over and over again, and I'll come on to why you've got to stick to it next. So the initial thought is, nobody cares about me now that I'm single. So what could the new thought be? So it needs to be positive, yeah? So it could be, my value is not dependent on my relationship status. So, what you're doing is you're directly challenging that initial thought. Nobody cares about me now I'm single. Well, my value is not dependent on my relationship status. Yeah, you've reframed it into a positive. Now you do the same with the belief. So that belief was, I am unimportant. So the new belief, more positive belief, can be, I am valued and appreciated. And I'm no good at writing on whiteboards, so take my word for it, that's what these say. So we've now done a reframe, yeah? You've had your initial negative thought, nobody cares about me now that I'm single. You've linked it, you've sat and thought about this, you've wrote it down, you've gone, right, okay, what limiting belief is that linked to? I am unimportant. Right, now we've got to challenge it, now we've got to reframe it. So you force yourself to put a new thought down, one that contradicts this. Well, actually, my value is not dependent on my relationship status. Why? New belief, I am valued and appreciated, regardless of your relationship status. But here's the key now. The last column is evidence. You need to write down as much evidence as you can to support that new belief. That's really important because what your brain's really good at is providing evidence of the initial thought and the initial belief. You'll have loads of instances in your head to prove that these are right. So you need to battle it, and I'll show you why in the next part. So you need to put evidence down here to support these. It's no good just reframing. You've got to put the evidence down. You've got to remind yourself of all the instances in your life where this new belief is true. And there's going to be loads. Now you might sit there initially and go, I haven't got any evidence because these are true, right? If you really want to change, if you really want to stop feeling these feelings that you're having and having these beliefs, you need to sit there until you've put that evidence down. Because I guarantee you've got evidence in your life to support this new belief. You have. Stop lying to yourself. Do you want to change or don't you want to change? If you do, you sit there until you've put that evidence down. You must put that evidence down. It's the proof that your subconscious needs that this new belief is true. So, evidence goes in here. Right, let's move on to the next one. Because you don't just do this for one of your limiting self-beliefs, you do it for them all. Anytime you have a negative thought, you come to this form and you do this process. So the second one, I am unlovable. So the thought could be, nobody will ever want me again. Right, that could be the thought. And that could be triggered at any point during the day, couldn't it? You could be sat there, you could see an advert for a dating app, or you could watch a film where two people are getting married and it triggers this thought, nobody's ever going to want me again. Yeah? It's quite a common thought after a breakup, isn't it? And then you do the same process as what you did the first time. Right, so that's my thought, I've put that down. What belief is that attached to? What limiting belief have I got that's making me feel that way? Well, that limiting belief is, I am unlovable. Yeah? Same process again. We have to challenge these. We have to reframe them. So it could be that you put the right person will love and appreciate me. So you're contradicting that initial thought. So this initial thought that nobody will ever want me again, you're saying, no, actually, the right person will love me and will appreciate me. Yeah? Direct challenge to that initial thought. Now, we reframe the belief. I am unlovable. So you could put, I am worthy of meaningful relationships. Again, ignore my writing because it's terrible. So again, it's a new belief, a more positive belief. That initial belief of I am unlovable has now been changed to I am worthy of meaningful relationships. And then again, evidence. The evidence must be put here. So you can do a list of all the meaningful relationships you've ever had in your life. And there will be loads. right? Again, you're going to say to yourself, I haven't, I'm on my own, my ex doesn't want me, I'm unlovable, blah, blah, blah. No, you've got meaningful relationships in your life. You've probably got friends, you may have colleagues, you've got family, you will have people in your life, or you've had people in your life who you had meaningful relationships with. You need to list them in this evidence. It's so important to put the evidence down to support that new belief. That is what's going to convince your subconscious. And I'll explain why next. So this is the process that you need to do. But you don't just do this once. You have to maintain consistency with this every single day. Every day without fail, if you have a negative thought, you bang it on this sheet, you link it to what that limiting self-belief was, then you reframe it and challenge it, and then supply evidence. And over time, your subconscious will start believing these new beliefs. And that will change your life, I promise you. So, this sheet is available in the description. You can click on the link and download it. It's a simple sheet. You can make this yourself. It's not too hard. And I would suggest that you start this straight away. So if you've got that list of limiting self-beliefs from last week, they're the beliefs you're going to work on. Now, when you do this process, new limiting beliefs might come up. Ones that you didn't realize you even had. Bang them on here. Challenge them, reframe them, get the evidence for them. So I'm going to use the magic of YouTube again now to cut to a different picture on this whiteboard. Bang. And again, magic of YouTube. Unbelievable, right? So, we've talked about your limiting self-beliefs. We've talked about how to challenge them. I'm going to explain why this process is not going to work overnight, okay? So, this is a court case, right? We've got the judge up here, a very poorly drawn judge, obviously. I'm not an artist. We've got the jury, we've got the prosecution, and we've got the defence, okay? So what does this represent? Well, the jury represents your subconscious, because that is where your limiting self-beliefs are stored, all right? So let's say you're 40 years of age, right? The majority of our limiting self-beliefs come from a very young age. We're conditioned at a young age to think a certain way about ourselves, about the world, about the life around us, okay? So the majority of them come from a very early age. Not all the time, sometimes you can develop them later in life, but ordinarily they come from a young age. So if you're 40, there's a good chance you've had a limiting self-belief for best part of 30 years, right? So let's take the I am unlovable as an example. So what's been happening for 30 years is the prosecution has been telling the jury, your subconscious, that I am unlovable and presenting every piece of evidence, non-stop for 30 years. And it's got a lot of evidence, because every time you've had a breakup, it supports this theory. Every time your friend's not been in touch for a couple of days or a couple of weeks, it supports this theory. Every time there's a brand new piece of evidence, the prosecution comes back to the jury and says, I'm unlovable and here's more evidence. And that's all your subconscious has heard for 30 years. So what you're going to do now, using that form I've just shown you, is you're going to put a defence up now. So the defence is going to stand up and go, actually, I've got a counter argument. I'm worthy of meaningful relationships and here's some evidence, right? Now imagine that is a court case. Can you expect the jury, who's only heard from the prosecution for 30 years, to believe the defence because they've stood up once and gave some evidence? It's not going to happen, is it? Of course it's not. What needs to happen is the defence needs to continue standing up, continue fighting this belief that you're unlovable and give this new belief and provide that evidence. And the more the defence does that and the longer they do it for, the more the jury, i.e. your subconscious, will start believing it. And this is why when you do this process, you can't give up after a couple of days. You can't even give up after a couple of weeks. It's going to take some time because you've got 30 years worth of prosecution to defend against. You're not going to do that overnight. And that's so important because you have to have the belief to stick to this, to stay consistent. Because if you do, you will overcome those limiting self-beliefs you've got. Trust me. But don't do it for a few days and go, it's not working. You need to keep doing it repeatedly, day in, day out. Because think about it, right? This is just an example of one limiting self-belief. You might have 3, 4, 5. Yeah? That's a lot of defence you've got to give to the jury over and over again. But I promise you, if you stick to it, your subconscious will start believing those new beliefs. And when they do, your life will change. So I'm hoping that gives you enough motivation to stick with this and don't just do it for a couple of days. Yeah? So I'm going to finish off by, I'm first of all going to wipe this out because I can't stand the way I draw and the way I write. It doesn't look good. I'm going to give you an example that's unrelated to relationships about a limiting self-belief. Now, I covered my limiting self-belief last week, right? Ugly, weak, not very clever, not good enough, right? So we can link a lot of this to love, relationships, new partners, all of that stuff. But it can, your limiting self-beliefs can affect many other areas of your life. And this is where I say doing this work changes your entire life, right? So a good few years ago, I got the chance to apply for a promotion in work, right? I looked at the job spec and I realised I met every single criteria. I was well suited to do that job, right? So I thought, great, I'm going to apply for this. Then I looked at the salary. The salary was way more than what was on now, and it put me off straight away. Even though I matched the job spec, I went, no, can't apply for that. I'm not good enough for that. I'm not clever enough to do a job that pays that amount. My limiting self-belief come to the surface in that very moment. I can't apply for this job because I'm not clever enough. Even though on paper I matched the spec, but the salary put me off. It was too much. No, I can't. I'm not worthy of that. I don't deserve that amount. That's an example of how a limiting self-belief affects other areas of your life, not just relationships and love, but any area, including business, career, everything. So what I did during that period, I was going through this process. So I was challenging all of my thoughts and all my beliefs. And luckily for me, I challenged that belief. I reframed it the way I've shown you today, and I applied for that job and I got it. So this is an example of how your limiting self-beliefs over the years will be affecting every decision you've made. Every decision. And you might be able to pinpoint times in your life now where you've not made a decision because of that limiting self-belief. You've not took that chance. You've not took that risk. You've not took that action because your limiting self-belief said you shouldn't because of whatever that is. And this is why this work's so important, because it can and will change your life. Because think about it. If you overcome these beliefs, all these beliefs that are stopping you from progressing in life, stopping you from getting that very life that you want, then everything's going to change. Your life is going to change. You are going to get that life that you want. And I want to make it clear, yeah, this is not about any of this red pill nonsense that I see online. This is not about you thinking you're better than everybody else and looking down on people and becoming arrogant. I can't stand any of that crap. This is not about anybody else. It's just about you. You and you alone. And you're allowed to stroke your ego because that's what you're doing here. You're bigging yourself up. You're becoming your biggest fan. Gaining that self-belief, gaining that self-confidence, increasing your self-esteem. And when you do that, right, when you've done that, you've proven to yourself that you can make yourself happy, that you can create a life that you want, that you can do it on your own. So never again will you go through what you're going through right now over your breakup. Now, does it mean you'll never feel breakup pain again? Of course not. I might feel breakup pain again in the future, and I'm a breakup coach because we all do. And it's all right to feel pain over a breakup, but you'll never be broken because you've found your inner happiness, because you've overcome your limiting self-beliefs. You're no longer going to be reliant on somebody else to boost your self-esteem. Take the responsibility yourself because you have the power to change. So like I say, the link's in the description. You can download the form or you can just make your own. But I strongly urge you to give this a go, especially if you've been stuck after a breakup after 6 months, 12 months, 2 years, you're still feeling low. It's because of this. It's because you've not got that belief in yourself. Find out what those negative self-beliefs are and overcome them. You can do it, I promise you. And when you do, let me know, because I'd love to hear your success stories, because I promise you success is around the corner for you. Put the work in now and the rewards will come. Now, before I go, I do want to mention, I do one-to-one life coaching, but I know that it's not for everybody. Some people don't feel comfortable in that sort of setting. So I'm bringing out a brand new online course. It's all about how to let go of your ex, move on and create your own happiness. So if you've been struggling after your breakup and you really can't do it on your own, then click the link in the description, download my free ebook, which is all about getting over your ex as well, and that'll qualify you to get my brand new course before anybody else and at a reduced price. It's coming out in a couple of weeks, but you get a chance to get it before anyone else. Now, once it's released to everybody, that offer will no longer apply. So if you don't want to miss out, click the link, get my ebook, get prepared to do my online course. But for now, nice one for listening. I hope you've learnt something, and I wish you every success in the future. And I'll see you in the next one. Laters.